free an innocent man, but with the stigma of a guy who people believe did it, but the prosecution just can't prove it?
I think there's that stigma, and then the answer to the question begs, where does this man, Robert Blake, go to get his reputation back? What room? What department? What agency? And the answer is none. The cloud hangs over you as someone who stood on a first-degree rap. It hangs over you like a dark cloud for the rest of your life. You know, just in my hometown, a couple of verdicts were rendered in some gang-related slayings. 3 guilty, 3 not guilty. They all stood trial together. Why do the 3 of them get a free pass? Well, it's just an evidentiary issue. But even as to those 3 gentlemen, I don't know where they get their reputations back, and I would suspect that it's going to be a bad time for them to shake that.
Judge Napolitano, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You can see Robert Blake is sobbing in relief.
Right.
He was facing the rest of his life in prison. He's probably, at this point, not all that worried about his reputation. He's glad he's not going to prison.
I think you're exactly correct, John. I mean, at his age, whether he had been convicted of first-degree murder or solicitation of murder, effectively would have gone to jail for the rest of his life. He now faces freedom and a new life and a chance to start again, or a chance just to fade away to the place to which he had faded away before this murder occurred 4 years ago.
Okay, Norm Early, we're all supposed to feel better about this. We really are. If the state didn't have enough evidence to convict him, he shouldn't have been convicted. We should feel that the system worked today, right?
No question. The prosecutors should be very disappointed. They should feel that they did the right thing by prosecuting the person that they honestly believed committed this crime. But by the same token, the prosecution has to give great credit and weight to the deliberation of the jury and the fact that the jury did not agree with the prosecution's case. We are not supposed to convict innocent people in this country, or people who are presumed innocent. And that's what this verdict means, that he's presumed innocent, so at this point he's not guilty, and he never will be guilty of this crime.
Norm, though, if he hadn't been a guy who was pretty famous from TV and the movies, you think he would have had the same result today?
John, you know, that's the kind of thing that we constantly evaluate when filing charges against individuals of notoriety. Generally, those people who have obtained fame have some degree of coattails attached to that fame that a jury is aware of. And sometimes a jury will, in fact, give that person some credits that they would not give the average person on the street. It not only happens in situations where you have a famous person, but oftentimes people who have wealth, who are able to bring more things to the attention of the jury, can get a better grant of justice in this country.
Judge Napolitano, you expect to see Robert Blake on the street walking up to microphones any second now?
No, I don't. I don't think he wants to address how he feels. I think he probably wants to go back to that quiet place where he resided before all of this happened, and he's relieved that he'll be there in freedom. Remember, he served a year in jail for a crime he did not commit. So he's probably got a little bit of bitterness in there, but enormous relief and a desire to go away.
Nita Vogel, from what you know about Blake's lawyers and Blake's plans, you expect him to turn up shortly in front of cameras?
Well, perhaps another high-profile interview. I don't know, John. But one thing you had asked me before, what has to be done before he leaves the court? He has to have his ankle bracelet removed. That's perhaps the last order of business he has to take care of before he's able to leave that courthouse today.
Geoff Nathan, would you march him out? Thanks, Anita. Jeff, would you march him out in front of the cameras and let people ask him questions tonight?
I would not, under no circumstances. I ordinarily don't favor my clients going forward and giving press interviews anyway. I don't think there's oftentimes too much to be gained from it. Scott Peterson should never have talked to the press. He might not be facing the death penalty if he had kept his mouth shut. So my advice to my clients basically is to put some duct tape over their mouth and walk right past the cameras.
I agree with Jeff, but let me tell you what he could do. he could go out to those cameras with that microphone and say, ladies and gentlemen, I did it. He cannot be prosecuted again. He can't be charged with perjury because he never testified. He's an absolutely free man, regardless of what he says and regardless of what history has been.
Nonetheless.
Well, they might try to get him on, if they can get him on anything, they could possibly try and get him on a federal weapons charge, if they could, in some respect. This whole story about him leaving his handgun in a restaurant, I mean, those of us who were licensed to carry firearms know very well that we must keep our guns concealed at all times. You can't just leave it on a dining room table under a napkin because you might lose it or something like that. So his whole story is very shaky. He'd be best off going to wherever he came from and keeping his mouth shut.
Norm, on the other hand, as the prosecutor, I heard you with a very uncomfortable laugh when the judge pointed out, no double jeopardy. You can't try this guy again.
Well, I agree with that. I don't agree with the judge's statement that this is a crime he did not commit. We don't know that.